Hey everyone, it's Rachel from Sugar Maple Farmhouse, and today we're going to be talking about sourdough starter. I'm going to show you how to make it, give you some tips for troubleshooting, and talk to you about how to use it. So let's get started. So I actually didn't make sourdough starter for a really long time. I was intimidated by it, and everybody made it sound just a bit overly complicated. However, I'm here to tell you that it's actually really easy as long as you remember a few key things. If you don't know, sourdough starter is a mixture of water and flour that you use to make sourdough bread and other sourdough products like pizza dough, crackers, pancakes, and more. Instead of using a packet of yeast from the store, sourdough is made via a natural fermentation process using bacteria and yeast that's living in your environment. To start, you want to use a flour that's higher in gluten. Most people will tell you that you want to use a whole wheat, unbleached flour. However, you can really use any kind of flour you want. Whole wheat flour and bread flour like I use are the better kinds of flour to use due to their high gluten content. Whole wheat flour has a gluten content of around 15%. Bread flour usually has a gluten content around 13%. For comparison, all-purpose flour has a gluten content of 9 to 11%. Once you pick your flour, the only other thing you need is water. You need 1 cup of water and 1 cup of flour, mix it together in a bowl, and that's it. On day 1, you mix the flour and water together in a bowl and cover it with a tea towel, flour sack, or cheesecloth and leave it. On day 2, you remove half of your sourdough starter and again add 1 cup of flour and 1 cup of water. On day 3, you remove 1 cup of sourdough starter and add 1 cup of water and 1 cup of flour. The whole process to make a fully hydrated sourdough starter takes about 10 days. However, you can start using the discard, the part you take out, on day 5 to make sourdough starter recipes. Here's a few tips to remember. Tip 1. Always feed your starter when you remove any. So if you take out 1.5 cups of starter, feed it 1.5 cups of flour and 1.5 cups of water. Tip 2. The temperature of your home will impact how well your sourdough starter grows. It likes to be in a warmer temperature, but not in the sun. A good spot for it is next to your oven. Tip 3. At some point, you might see a liquid on top of your sourdough starter that looks like water. It's called hooch and is an alcohol byproduct of the yeast, and it means the starter is hungry. The starter is actually made up of living organisms, so it's important to feed it every day when it's sitting on your counter. When you see hooch, just spoon it off and keep going. Tip 4. Always use a wooden spoon when you're stirring your sourdough starter. Metal can impact the growth of the yeast. Tip 5. Once you pass day 10, you can put your sourdough starter in the fridge to slow it down. Then you only need to feed it once a week. Tip 6. When it comes to texture, you want your sourdough starter to have the consistency of melted marshmallow. If it's a little too watery, then add just a bit less water one day. If it's too thick, add just a bit more water one day. So what do you think? Easy, right? For sourdough recipes, visit the website at sugarmaplefarmhouse.com and make sure you're subscribed and following along so you can keep up with all our adventures here at Sugar Maple Farmhouse.